Top 10 Ways People Got Paid to Do Nothing. Do you ever dream that you could be paid to do nothing? Instead of being held down by a job, you could read books or surf the web as much as you wanted. Sound impossible? Number 10. Paid to stand in line. Nobody likes waiting in line, but what if you could make money by holding someone's spot? It may sound crazy, but it might make good economic sense. In Italy, for example, the bureaucracy is so thick at government agencies that the average Italian spends about 400 hours per year waiting in line, which wastes the equivalent of an estimated $44 billion of total productive time. This occurs because many in the country prefer to pay in cash, resulting in fewer online transactions and longer processing times. Number 9. Paid to lie in bed for months straight. We all have days when we consider staying in bed instead of getting up to greet the day. But what if your job was to stay in bed? Researchers sometimes pay people to lie in bed for long periods of time to study what happens to their bodies. NASA has done this many times for over a decade. It may be nice at first to get paid to relax in bed, but according to someone who has done it, you'll come across some problems. Being in such a study restricts your ability to shower, use the bathroom, eat, and navigate other basic needs. Number 8. Paid to wait in a reassignment center. In some school districts, teachers accused of misconduct are not immediately fired or sent home from their jobs. Instead, they are reassigned into an unusual situation where they continue to collect their pay while not being allowed to work. However, they are still required to show up. These teachers often sit in rooms, referred to as rubber rooms or reassignment centers, and do almost nothing during what would normally be work hours. In multiple places, including New York City, school employees often wait years for their legal hearings to proceed. Spending 2, 3, or more years in this situation is not uncommon. Number 7. Paid to not wrestle. It is common for wrestlers to take time off from the ring, whether due to an injury or because nobody can put that much physical strain on his body every day of the month. Sometimes, high-profile wrestlers work only a few days in a year, saving their appearances for high-profile shows and spending the rest of their time staying in shape. For example, The Undertaker, one of the highest-profile wrestlers in the WWE, often goes months or years without a match. In such cases, companies will often pay these wrestlers to keep them retained for future performances. What is unusual is the case of Lanny Poffo, who signed multiple years of contracts with World Championship Wrestling back in the 1990s. Poffo was a talented wrestler who performed under other monikers in the past, including the name The Genius. Number 6. Paid despite never showing up to work at government offices. Imagine if you were paid a regular salary for a decade without ever showing up to work. In Kuwait, a recent investigation into the attendance of government employees revealed over 900 with irregular attendance who were then suspended. One of those had apparently never shown up to work in the first place. His absence was not noticed until the country cracked down on the attendance problem that has been around for a while. Back in 2011, Kuwait released an official report that showed only half of all public employees were showing up to work as expected. Reportedly, conditions in public sector jobs in Kuwait and other Gulf Coast countries are not very demanding, and many people receive a salary for doing nothing. Number 5. Paid to have a truck. A scandal from 2004 in Chicago saw large numbers of truck companies getting paid big bucks for little or no work. An investigation by the Sun-Times revealed that owners of entire fleets of trucks, including dump trucks and construction-related vehicles, were being paid millions of dollars over several years to mostly just have their vehicles sit around. Reporters from the Sun-Times followed some of these trucks to see what they were really doing during the hired time. Over multiple days, they saw many dump trucks do nothing but hang out at some city work sites. They also saw a hired truck visit a restaurant and a store before eventually taking on a small load for hauling. Number 4. Paid to frustrate French bureaucrats. When you upset your boss at your job, he may try to get revenge whether or not he finds a legal way to do so. But what if your boss's revenge came in the form of paying you not to work for over a decade? In France, rail operator Charles Simon was paid €5,400 a month for 12 years despite doing no rail work due to a falling out with his employer. According to Simon, he was a whistleblower in an alleged false invoice fraud at his company that totaled millions of euros. He did what any loyal employee would do and reported the fraud to his bosses. At that point, he was removed from his post and told that he was going to be assigned elsewhere. But that never happened. Instead, he was railroaded into doing nothing. Due to complex French labor laws, his old job status was protected. While waiting to begin his new job that never came, he was still receiving regular paychecks. His story made headlines in 2015 when he sued his employer for ruining his career. Number 3. Paid to do nothing in isolation. As long as you can stand it. In the 1950s, researchers were interested in the effects of boredom. Scientists created experiments designed to isolate people and make them as bored as possible. One study was described by a researcher as too cruel to do with animals, but not with college students. The good news is that the students were paid 24 hours a day to participate in the experiment. The bad news was what the study involved: prolonged and torturous monotony. The participants were kept on beds in small enclosed spaces. They wore special glasses that blocked some vision, sponges in their ears, gloves on their hands, and cardboard cuffs on their wrists. Thus, they were deprived of much of their vision, hearing, and touch. An air conditioner was running to drown out other noises, and the participants had microphones if they needed to communicate. Number 2. Paid to sleep or stay awake. Researchers are constantly looking for people to participate in paid sleep studies, which are what they sound like. You get paid to sleep while you are observed by researchers either directly or via body monitoring devices. Harvard Medical School maintains a website where they list sleep studies for which they are recruiting. While some of them require specifics, such as certain body types or diseases, others merely request that you are someone who sleeps and wants money. For example, one woman participated in sleep research and earned around $12,000 for a total of 11 nights of work. In 2017, she wrote about her experiences and reported that some of the weirder elements of the study included medical tests before, during, and after the sleeping. At various points, she had 4 electrodes on her head, and an attached rectal thermometer. Number 1. Paid to watch TV in an empty care home. In 2014, a care home in New Jersey was closing and hundreds of workers were supposed to be laid off or reassigned to other facilities. The home normally provided services to over 200 people with developmental disabilities who lived in cottages on the property. However, all these people had been gradually moved to other facilities. Even so, many employees continued to show up to work. They played cards and watched television in the cottages while collecting their paychecks. A report issued about this incident estimated that millions of dollars were paid to idle employees. This strange case occurred because of a few errors. It is normal in New Jersey for some employees in civil service roles, such as care home workers, to receive pay during a layoff period so that they can decide on new job.